Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Boiling Point Faith and Fire. This is not a hype show. It's not clickbait patriotism, and it is definitely not corporate approved commentary. The show exists because the pressure is real and we're all feeling it. Families are feeling it, parents are feeling it, business owners feel it, people of faith feel it. Something is off. And pretending that everything is fine is not an option. So, here at Boiling Point is where culture, current events, faith, responsibility, and common sense kind of collide. Uh, we don't really scream the headlines. I think we're good at kind of slowing them down, and we don't tell you what to think. We are challenging you to think for yourself. And we don't outsource the truth to politicians or influencers or the bullshit algorithm. Okay. The goal here really is clarity, not chaos, and conviction, not outrage addiction, even though some of us get a little off their rocker. But it is heating up the world, and we're talking about it honestly, responsibly. Ground rules, I have to do the housekeeping. The podcast is for discussion, commentary, education only. Everything shared here is personal opinion, publicly available information, and lived experience. Nothing on the show should be taken as legal, medical, financial, or professional advice. Really, we encourage you to do your own research. Think critically. If you get anything from the podcast, it should be that to make decisions for yourselves. Um, Disagreement, cool, that's allowed, but blind obedience is not. Okay, free thinking zone here. Um, and the anchor of the show here today, because every fire needs a stabilizer, that is my co-host Rory. He's grounded. He's the grounded one, the measured one, like let's get this right. He is a podcast professional, true patriot, and someone who believes loving your country means holding it to the higher standard, not blindly defending it or burning it down. So he is the structure of the show. Hello, Rory.
Hello, Brandon. How you doing? I love your intros. I mean, every time I don't know what's coming, so
Yeah.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you for that today. I want to congratulate you on the relaunch of a couple of other podcasts you've got going.
Yes.
You expanded your main platform, and then you made a change to one of your other shows, which I'm pretty much in favor of.
Yeah. The change was Rory is a new co-host on another show of mine. So if you guys need some relationship advice, uh take it from people who have screwed up enough to know that we can direct you in the right path, okay? And that show is out there. And I am having fun with What Makes You Special. That's a fun show. But my little baby corner of I think I have 4 podcasts and you have 10, which is more than I have kids, and that's a lot. Cuz I'm telling you, like, a podcast is like a child. It feels like that to me. I feel like I have all these kids and now I'm trying to organize my kids and it is not happening. So I'm like, wow, this is no different. Like being a parent, just
I hope I took better care of my kids than I do my
right.
podcasts.
Right.
but
Yeah.
I know what you mean. It's labor intensive. People
Yeah.
really don't know what happens behind the mic. So, but that being said, congratulations, on all the new activity. I love the new aspect of the show, What Makes You Special. I thought that was really cool. That was a neat way to go. And, the relationship one, I think it is hilarious because you and I have probably between the two of us made just about every mistake you can make.
It's there.
And we're still here.
Yeah.
And we're both still married somehow. So I think we've learned some things the hard way.
Yep.
And the last thing I'll say on this, because we got things to get to, is just that you did put out a little cover art yesterday, which I thought was hilarious. My wife saw it before I did, and my wife goes, "Hey, I thought you were doing this new show with Brandon, about the relationships." And I said, "I am." And she goes, "Have you seen this?"
Oh,
She goes, "Who's this guy?" And I looked at it, and I said, "Really, babe?" And she goes, "This is a good-looking guy right here."
oh
She's
man,
pointing at yeah.
that's
So
hilarious.
my wife loved it so much that she thinks that your AI creation of me is, better looking than the original. So
Also,
I
there's
said,
some secret creations
I love it. I
from
was like,
you.
that's great. So I said, yeah, actually, he is a good looking dude. I mean, he's got like darker hair,
Oh,
thicker beard. I was like, man, this dude's awesome, but
you realize how I
appreciate
quietly like just posted that because I knew I was going to be in trouble. You guys, Rory hates chat. He hates all of it, and I literally stole his picture, and now someone has his data somewhere
it.
along the line. He's in my chat program. Well, chat probably thinks you're racist now. So
Chat has hated me since the beginning. So, Our hate relationship between me and AI in general has
Yeah.
blossomed from long ago. You
Yeah.
just pushed it further down the road. I thought it was hilarious. So
Oh, that's so funny.
thank you for that. But we do have a lot to get to today, so
We do.
I digress. But I'm going to throw it back to you because I know you've got stuff. You're just chomping at the bit to talk about some of this.
Well, I think the biggest one right now is for me, and I know I made a post today where I'm like, can we all agree on just firing Bondi and Patel and then having them arrested for being complicit? I will say, you guys, that's kind of a knee-jerk reaction. It was kind of dramatic because I know there's so much more to it. Like I know that, and that post just made me look stupid and uneducated. And I probably should delete it, but I also don't care. But we all have betrayal fatigue, because we have this place where, in case you guys don't know, she was questioned um about the files and stuff, and she's getting very uncomfortable and upset and agitated and just like drop it. There's so much going on, and that part I agree on her with her. But like when leaders who are speaking loudly about corruption and predators and accountability, when they go silent, okay, once they're close to power, it creates a vacuum. And so in that vacuum, like people assume the worst. And it's not because we want to, but history keeps teaching us to do that. So with Bondi and with Patel, the frustration isn't that they haven't made the arrests, you know, and the truth is, what do I know to be true, you guys? I'm not going to lie to you. Neither of them really have unilateral authority to do that. They just don't. They can't go make the arrest. And I know that. So it's very ignorant. I am probably going to delete that post. Very ignorant of me. But the frustration is that they continue to signal the knowledge of serious wrongdoing and offering no visible path to justice. Like silence paired with implication, it feels like they're protecting someone. That's how I feel. I love that I have the show because I'm processing this in real time, you guys, where I get it. But like, I feel like we still are being gaslit because like everything's followed up with like nothing is happening.
Yeah,
It's gaslighting,
yeah.
and it's not even just because we have proof, but it's because we know that the narrative right now is being managed instead of being addressed. And that is the truth at the core. At some point, like loyalty to party or optics or institutional stability, it looks like you can't even tell it apart from complicity, even if the truth is more bureaucratic or legal or more cowardly than criminal. Um, I just feel like, yes, we're wounded by this right now, and it's not even a rage, it's just that growing belief that the truth keeps getting postponed in the name of control. One of her things was everything crumbles when this comes out. And I feel like we're at our boiling point. Let it
100%.
crumble. Let it freaking crumble. You know, it blows my mind.
The frustration's real.
Yeah.
So I totally get, and I think honestly, you're describing how most Americans who are paying attention to any of this, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, I think most Americans feel like you feel right now.
Yeah.
And like I do, the total frustration of, are you kidding me at some point? I think one thing I want to point out on this is the timeline, because the mainstream media does a great job of making us forget the timeline of events.
Yeah.
And part of what had to happen here was that you had to get these files put out. And every time there was a movement to do it, the Democrats lined up like rank and file to vote against putting these out. Absolutely, 100%. Block party, we don't want these out. No, we're not releasing them. Next thing you know, right? Elon Musk comes out and says, hey, Trump is in these files. We need to release these. I'm out. And he leaves, the president, right? And there's this big rift between Musk and Trump. Oh, well, then the Democrats go, wait, Trump's in the files? And all of a sudden, they vote to release them, all of them.
Yeah.
Then Elon Musk and Trump make up. The files get released. The vote gets taken. The House says we're going to put them all out. The Senate says, yep, we're going to put them all out. The president goes, great, signs it, doesn't even blink. That was a psyop.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can see
And
it now, but we couldn't
manipulate.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% manipulation. All we get to see is what the media lets us see. But
Exactly.
when you actually go back and put the whole thing in chronological order, Pam Bondi, who I feel a little bit for now, I was hard on her before too, but now that I've seen all this
Yeah.
and you can kind of clock it, she's been sitting there holding the bag going, whenever y'all are done playing tiddlywinks,
Right.
okay, and we actually get everybody where they need to be, I'm ready. Can we do something? And I think she's been told no until now.
Yeah.
Now it's all out. There's more coming. There's a whole lot more coming. And I don't think this is the end of it. I don't think it's here's the files, everything's redacted, deal with it. I think this is going to be more and more and more as this whole thing takes on a life of its own. The media is controlling so much of this narrative.
Yeah.
They're doing their absolute best to, paint people the wrong direction and so on and so forth. And the only reason you know this is because Obama had the files, Biden had the files.
Yeah.
Trump had the files the first time he was in office. Nobody released anything,
Yep.
right? It was all in the wraps. If Biden would have had the files the way they cheated in the election, did everything else they've done, they would have buried Trump a long time ago.
Yeah.
And as soon as Musk says, hey, Trump's in here, well, everybody wants to see it. And what do they see?
Mhm.
Trump reported Epstein to the police
Right.
in
But it's on the
2006.
mainstream media because I haven't really seen anybody talk about that. I
No,
saw
they're
it.
not going to tell you that happened.
Yeah. That's
No
so funny.
way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you do. When you do that deep dive and you start seeing things that people are kind of missing, it's like, folks, if we really just stop fighting on Facebook for 5 seconds
Yeah.
and look at the timeline of what's going on, this is how it was supposed to happen. I really think that we're still, unfortunately, playing the election though. Primary season is coming up. I mean, another month, you're going to see more stuff blow up.
Yeah.
And I think by November, I think there's just going to be a firestorm of things happening because I think they're planning it for the election because it's that important that the Republicans hang on to both houses.
Well, I do see a lot of truth in what's going on with even just like Democrats' election strategy right now. This is I do see that their playbook is getting cracked wide open. And it's not hard to see why because they've spent so many years carefully crafting this narrative, trying to paint the right as the party of, we're the extremists, we're the oligarchs, we're the chaos, and the pieces just aren't holding together anymore. I see that despite all the noise that's swirling around about Epstein, that's never going to die out. Like the endless leaks, like insinuations, we're supposed to take down all these key people, the ongoing mess that they have made with immigration and ICE, like their grand plan is crumbling in real time. And
Yeah,
I think they've leaned hard into this narrative, trying to convince everyday Americans, and it's working. I'm watching Republicans tear each other down, say that they're nothing more than puppets of billionaire elites. And I see a lot of my influencers, once I started putting these pieces together, when I've realized how much Israel has control over us, and it's a lot of the people that are saying, you know, it, it's just very apparent now. You can see this, it's meant to scare you. It's meant to make you think that the right is out to rig the system for the ultra rich people. But I feel like the irony's become pretty thick here because some of their biggest donors are the exact same kind of billionaires that they claim to oppose. Narrative is supposed to divide us, to turn working people, you know, against conservatives. But I do think that a lot more people are seeing through it and they're seeing through the fake influencers. They're seeing through the posts that are being bought and paid for. So,
yeah,
just the fact they're trying to weaponize like the green agenda against Trump still, like they're still doing that. Framing it, we're still doing that and they're trying
yeah,
to still get to the young voters and climate fear. But I feel like, it's centuries old. This is centuries old stuff. It's history repeating itself over and over. You guys read the Bible and the same stuff. It's crazy because I'm like, wow, this is happening right now. And every year I read the Bible, no matter what's going on in the world, I'm like, wow, this is happening right now. But if you see the end game that they've been chasing, which is the fundamental reshaping of old structures, you know, it's an attack on sovereignty, on tradition, on the constitutional order itself, and it's failing. So the distractions from Epstein didn't deliver the knockout blow they wanted, obviously.
no,
You
no.
know,
It made people sick, but
yeah,
it's not the thing that's going to stop everybody in their
no.
tracks. So yeah,
Because
after the election, this will be over.
yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how. I mean, has anybody told them, that Trump actually called the police? I'm just curious because, like, you know,
It's all
like,
over the internet,
what
so
would they do
they know.
with that? What would they do? Um, yeah. What else did I see today? So we have there was a shooting
Hmm,
in Canada
yeah.
yesterday, I believe. Tumbler Ridge, BC.
Wait. That can't be right.
No,
Canada doesn't allow you to have a gun.
oh,
So how could there be a shooting?
and the news lied to me again.
It has to be. You got to be wrong on this because you can't have a handgun in Canada. You can't. No, nope.
This is so,
Strict gun control works, right?
yeah, yeah. Although I live across the lake from Chicago, so we've all known that that is bullshit. But yes, it's a mass shooting. And what happens is this guy, the news is also going to get something wrong because everywhere I look, they're talking about a woman. Uh, no, this is a boy. Okay. Killed two people at home, his mom and dad. No, his mom and his stepbrother, I believe. He was like 11. And then he
Yeah.
went to school.
Dad's not in the picture, I don't think.
Yeah. So it's his mom and his
Oh,
brother. Brother's like 11. Um, Killed a lot of people, injured over 25 people. Um, and then he shot himself, which I mean that's what they do, isn't it, really? Um, Kid's 18 and this is the thing that I read today that just made me mad. We already know the kid has issues because everyone's calling him a girl. Okay, so we know there's some mental health issues. But what I read is that authorities multiple times had been to his house because of mental health concern. And the two firearms at the scene, because they had already seized firearms and later returned them to the shooter's family. Um, you know, there's no clear motive. But do we need a motive? And they're trying to say that the shootings are extremely rare in Canada because they have strict gun laws. But this is definitely one of the deadliest for Canada. But this is what happens. Violence, horrific school shooting by a trans student. So we have two options, and the media does this: blame the individual, move on, or use the individual as a political weapon. But what's never getting addressed in these stories, and it kind of pisses me off, is that the system failed before this happened, and that's the story every single time. But we're never holding the system accountable. This is where the problem lives. Mental illness is not being treated. They're
right.
managing it. They're signing off on it. They're promoting it. We're signing off on delusions because they want to maintain patience. Brandon, that's not true. Like, why are you accusing the government of wanting to keep people sick? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because a population that's medicated or dependent on systems or confused about identity, emotionally dysregulated, spiritually disconnected is easier to manage, not easier to empower. Healthy people ask questions. Grounded people resist manipulation. People with a strong identity don't need validation from anyone. Sick people are outsourcing authority, and that's the benefit. That was the point of a strategic media monster and social media influence. That's what this has created. That's what the agenda on the left has created. And it's not even, you don't even have to have the devil like standing in the room because it's just incentives.
Yeah.
Big Pharma makes so much money, overload the healthcare systems, political narratives that are going to reward for this. Everybody's using it. Both sides are using it, and we're not taking care of people. This is untreated trauma, psychological instability, but we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk. We're just going to be like, oh, look, another liberal went crazy. No, really, the system. When are we going to hold the system accountable? Like they're complicit. Anybody who's talking to this kid, any doctor in his life that was like, yes, you're really a girl, those people need to be held accountable for feeding this. No one's talking about them because they did the right thing, right? They saw a hurt kid and they wanted to make the kid comfortable, live in the delusions. If we actually cared about people's mental health, we would invest more in healing, but we're not going to do that.
Right.
And we would have more responsibility than validation because we're not compassionate at this point. We're negligent. Everybody that is in this kid's life has blood on their hands. Every single one of them. You are guilty of this. But
Yeah.
that puts Canada on the map, and I think that Canada is just oh Canada.
Canada's
Um,
having some issues, but I agree with you. On all the topics you just brought up. The one thing that I want to add to that is in the last 2 months, I've been on four different, very well attended panels addressing men's mental health.
Yeah.
talking about just men and what they're facing in today's world, and masculinity versus getting in touch with your feelings and all this other stuff. There's a huge push for that still,
Don't get
right?
me off
And they,
stress.
if you're a dad who loses his mind at the dinner table, well, you have a mental health problem now, right? And they're going to give you drugs for your anxiety because you shouldn't be upset about the fact that you're working three jobs and can't afford to take care of your family because of what's happened for the last 5 years. But all of that gets talked about. But somebody walks up and says, "Hey, I'm a boy. I've decided I'm going to be a girl. I really believe I am, and I want to live that life." And they go, "Oh, okay, great." There's no. The reason I'm okay with it, and the reason I sit on the panels, is because men do have mental health issues. Okay, and none of us like to admit it. None of us want to talk about it and say, "Hey, yeah, we do. We feel weak when that comes up." But we're not even acknowledging that they're experiencing identity issues, mental health issues. It's gender dysphoria. It's right there in what is it, the DSM-5? Is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
that's the book.
For crying out loud. It's already designated as an illness. And by not doing it for some political point, you're ignoring that this kid needs help. And why can we deal with mental health in all these other stages, right? But we can't touch it when it comes to almost the most basic thing on the planet.
Doesn't fit the
Whether,
script.
are you a man or woman? It's just so simple. I don't get it. And when the political gain starts to cost people their lives, then
Yeah.
what are we doing as a people? I just don't know how anybody can vote for that, because that kid that did that,
Yeah.
honestly, was another victim of that shooting.
He was.
When you're on drugs that give you homicidal thoughts, and that's not a fact.
Yeah.
It's being reported even by the mainstream media. They're going, well, they were on drugs for the gender transition, and that makes you, gives you homicidal tendencies. They're using it as the excuse
I
for the
think that
shooting.
was probably intentional too. Like
What?
they probably made sure that is going to make you go postal because that's again feeding their narrative. They're banking
Awful.
on that.
Just awful. Treating the symptom, not the cure, or
Yeah.
not the cause. It's like it's insane to me. And now all these people have lost their lives
Yeah.
because nobody would help this kid. And I think that it's just sad all the way around. But I don't understand the government doing this stuff. And Canada quietly is much worse than the United States ever dreamed to be in with this particular topic.
Yeah.
They're not even allowed to post about it up there. You
Wow.
can't even have a conversation about it, or you're getting penalized, and sometimes you're getting arrested for those opinions.
It's crazy to think that something's so close. I mean, I'm in Michigan, so it's just right on the border to think that something so close is so toxic and I can't imagine. I mean, even just their health care alone. People in, the states are always like, "Could we get free health care?" You want to be like Canada because I mean, people die waiting,
Right.
serious things that they need. Like it is just a messed up system.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends in Canada, and so I hear a lot of different stories about a lot of these different things. And that's one of the biggest things they talk about. Hey, we pay an awful lot in taxes, to get this health care. And when we get it, it's not that great. Several of these people I've met because they had to come to the United States to get treatment
Wow.
because they couldn't get it in Canada. So, the pros and cons everywhere, but the bottom line is, Canada for some reason has just swung so far that direction that they even have provinces that want to like become their own nations and leave. No, it's actually real talk that Alberta may become the 50, what is it, 53rd state or something. It's kind of nuts, but I know some people in that area and they're not kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if
So,
anybody's gonna make it happen, it would be Trump, right? Like I know
oh,
he's
yeah.
messing around about a bridge and he's doing stuff like, let's do it then.
Yeah. He's had it with Canada. He's like, no, no, you don't get the free pass anymore.
Yeah.
We're done. Step up or put up or shut up because
Yeah.
if you're not going to be part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So, yeah. But that's why all the liberal Canadians can't stand him either. So,
Right.
good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. What a mess. It's a mess. You,
You wanted to talk about RFK too, or do you want to go into the other Canada story?
yeah, let's go. I mean, Canada. Let's
Okay.
Canada. Yeah.
Only other thing I wanted to bring up on Canada, and we talked about this a little beforehand, I appreciate it, is I have a friend of mine who is I'm going to say that it's a she. I'm not going to give anything away on her right now. My friend is the he, but it happened to his wife. Okay. So the she is the one doing the reporting on this. And they live in a very small area, a very small town. in a very remote portion of Canada. And their area has been completely and totally Dearborned. It has been utterly conquered by radical Islam. The all of the elected officials are practicing Sharia law very quietly. They've received written notices that Sharia law is now the law of the land in their area. They cannot walk around after a certain time at night. I don't know exactly what it is, and I don't want to misreport on this, but this lady videotaped the whole thing. She and her friend were coming back from a movie, and there were, patrol groups of young Muslim men walking around with, the bright colored vests and everything else, saying, "Where's your husband? You're not allowed to be out. We'll escort you home." And took them off the street because women are not allowed to be out after a certain time, according to Sharia law. And you either go along or goodness knows what happens to you. And, she recorded it and they didn't even care they were being recorded. But that's why she can't, do anything with it because as soon as she puts it up anywhere, they're going to know who took the video
Right.
and they're afraid they're going to show up at the doorstep. Um, this is what's happened in a lot of parts of Canada is that this is just absolutely like Dearborn 10X. And it's what's going to start taking hold here in the United States if we aren't careful. And people are fighting to allow this for some reason in
Right.
the name of racism and equality and DEI and everything else. And I'm going, folks, this is absolutely so much bigger. And again, the side that wants to allow this to happen, okay, is the side that says, well, women should have the right to abort their child, right? It's my body, my choice, my right. Well, what happens when that body, that choice, that right gets sent home at, say, 10 p.m. because you're not allowed to be on the street because you're a woman, which means you're less than a man according to their culture? You okay with that? Because that's what you're voting for. Again, the left mystifies my brain. I don't know how anybody who's an American could say it's totally fine to take away women's freedoms,
Yeah.
not just the freedom to have an abortion, freedoms as a human.
Yeah.
And they're all voting for it. I mean, it's beyond useful idiot at this point. I don't understand what the message is, but there are a lot of areas of Canada that have been overrun. And the last thing I'll say about it, because this is kind of the icing on the cake, maybe the cherry on the top, is that they aren't allowed legally to post about it. Canada has very strict social media policies, and if radical Islam gets put up anywhere or any of this stuff gets put up, it gets taken down, and they get thrown in Facebook jail. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I've talked to these people who are experiencing it. And you know what? That's coming to a United States state near you if you don't wake the hell up in this country at some point.
And then obviously, I mean, you're going to lose your right to vote as a woman
Well,
regardless. But I will say that, the liberal women that are screaming for this to happen, that are protecting them, I would gladly right now give up my vote as a woman so they couldn't vote. I would say we just don't even deserve to have the vote because, like, no. And I made a post joking before, why don't we just, like, do they not see the women in Islam who are crying about this and begging to be saved and rescued from Sharia law? They're not seeing that. I'd rather trade. Like, let's trade our liberal women for the Islam women and let them see what it's really like to be under the rule of thumb of man.
it's awful.
More
Yeah.
for your kids. But the Facebook thing, that's what kind of blows my mind because, like, Zuck owns it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point, Israel hasn't bought that yet, have they? Or do
I don't
they now own Facebook too?
Is he Jewish though? So he might just be in on it. But I'm saying, like, he said first of all, I'm in Facebook jail again, so I know he's a liar. But like he said, that all the censorship and all the bias was going to be released. How is it legal for them to dictate what's getting posted and what's not being posted in Canada?
Well, they passed a law through their parliament, I think is the government structure in Canada, because it mimics England. I think through their parliament, they passed these controls years ago during COVID. Now they're enforcing them. So I think they got them during the COVID thing where anybody who spoke out against COVID and said, hey, we shouldn't have lockdowns and blah, blah, blah. Well, they were branded as enemies of the state and they said they were putting out misinformation. and everything else. So they gained those powers through their parliament back then. They didn't really apply them very hard back then because they didn't want the uprising and the huge issues. But now, on the issue of radical Islam, they are absolutely enforcing them. And what I think is happening also, and no one's talking about, just from again talking to all these people I know that are in Canada living there, is that they're starting to see that they're not allowed to post about any trans issue either. So if those are the two things that the government is trying to push on its people, what does that tell you about the direction the government is going? And I think that's why you see, I mean, almost all of Western Canada is either looking to go off on their own and form their own country or join the United States. Because, all of the negatives that come with being a state in the United States are outweighed by, all the positives of not having to deal with everything that's being heaped upon them by the Canadian government. So, I guess we'll see where that goes. But the movement to leave Canada from all these different provinces is not being led by liberals. So, if they were to join the United States, that's not a whole big bucket of liberals coming over.
Right.
Yeah, it's not because they're leaving because of that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this. We're in the midst of the biggest world shakeup since World War II.
Isn't that crazy?
It's insane what's happening. And honestly, maybe since World War One, because they were forming countries back then. In World War II, we had the countries, they just all fought and blew each other up. But I honestly, it's almost, I think I have to go back to World War One to really clock the reformation of what may be happening here. So thanks for letting me throw that out there because that was a big deal, and they're not allowed to talk about this. So at least we can
We have
still
to talk
for
about
now.
it for them, and we have
Yeah.
to be able to inform people. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's terrifying. And I couldn't imagine because if it was like my situation, I can't move. I couldn't move right now, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, let's hope that good old Trump, the disruptor, the guy that's pissing off the entire world, let's hope that, he brings them to the States. We can use the voters, we can
Yeah.
we could use the voters against all the ridiculousness, protect from Sharia law and trans agendas. Really. I'm
Yeah.
happy without both of those. But
For sure.
I didn't, you know what I was gonna look at today and I didn't do that is we got a visit, um Trump got a visitor from someone who wants us to go to war with Iran. And I wanted to look into that today and I did not look into that. So I'm curious, like if we're going to war in Iran. Israel wants us to go to war with Iran.
Uh,
But yeah, I didn't
I
look
didn't
it up.
hear about that. All right.
I'm gonna look it up for next time. I just feel
Awesome.
like, we're fighting a war that's not ours, but whatever. Um, what is the truth, you guys? Like none of what we're seeing is new. History doesn't repeat itself. It just cycles. And I feel like every generation thinks that their chaos is unprecedented, but it never, ever is. Since the beginning of creation, it's the same ingredients: power agendas, tainted governments, uh, absolute overreach, and just massive control. And they package it up in this little thing where it's like for your own good. And the world has always been a battleground, not just politically, literally spiritually, and if we continue to pretend otherwise, like that's how we get blindsided. So it's not about left or right at this point. It's not even about nations. It's a broken world operating exactly how broken worlds operate. And I've read it in the scripture, this is the devil's playground. And it doesn't mean that we need to panic. It means that we need discernment. So I don't want you guys to spiral every time the headlines flare out, you know. The real call for you guys is get your house in order. Get your health right. And I'm talking about your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health. You have to stop outsourcing responsibility for your well-being to the very system that wants to destroy you. It doesn't love you. The government is never going to care about you. And when they have anything, when they present something to you like it's going to make your life better, that's a red flag. It's a red flag. You need to strengthen your body. You need to clear your mind. You need to stay anchored with your soul because light does not come from rage posting. I'm sorry, Bondi and Patel. I'm going to delete it when we're done. Okay. Doesn't come from doom scrolling. Light really does come from people who are grounded and healthy and disciplined and not afraid to live different. We're never going to beat this darkness by screaming at it. And we see the truth of our fellow liberals here. They're constantly screaming. And what is it changing? We can't scream at it. We have to outgrow it. That means we move the needle in our lives forward and keep the momentum going. You expose it by how you live. And make no mistake, you guys, no matter how I feel about justice and complicity, and I feel like, you know, I just wish they could wave a magic wand and make everybody pay for their crimes, right? Justice is not optional in the universe. It will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Maybe not in our time lane. Maybe not through our outrage, but through truth and accountability and the slow collapse of lies that cannot stand forever. So I know every time I talk on the show, I just have to do something to bring you guys back because we say things that are, that are crazy. I just want to make sure that we protect you with protecting your peace. Don't lose your integrity and don't forget who you're called to be in times like this. Darkness has always been loud, but light is very steady. And what happens when you turn on the light? The cockroaches scatter. And right now, there's a lot of lights being turned on. And so, yeah, we're seeing the cockroaches and we're freaking the freak out, right? We just want to torch it, burn it all down. The light is on and you have to continue to be the light because we can't get rid of the cockroaches until we keep the lights on long enough to clean it up. And I get it. I get it. So, yeah, that's my piece on that. That's my 2 cents because Sharia law, anywhere outside of where it belongs, like it shouldn't even be happening in the country it's happening in, let alone being brought into Canada and the United States. And I just don't think that reality sets in for a lot of people here. No one's talking about Dearborn right now. No one's talking about anything in the United States that they should be talking about that we can control. We can control our communities. We can't control what's happening in Canada. You know, we can control what's happening in our town. Voting is important and the Democrats' agenda was to make sure that you don't do that. This next voting cycle, they don't want you there. They want you tired. They want us tearing each other apart. They want you to think that it's just hopeless. There's no point in voting. Everything's rigged. And that's just not the truth. It's not the truth. You guys are called to hold the line. And that's biblical. That's not a Brandon and Rory statement. You're called to hold the line. And you can fact check that in the Bible. So right now, again, it's just hold the line, have these conversations. I know I'm going to be telling people about what's happening in Canada, because they can't talk about it. We get to be their voice. We get to make people aware. So, yeah, I'll leave the rest to you, sir.
Honestly, that was the message. And I love that. That was a great wrap up. And I think if everybody's heard what you said, the only thing I'll say, folks, is this. If you didn't catch everything she just said, back up 30 seconds and listen to it again, because that really is the key. What Brandon just said. Beautiful closeout. We're good.
Who knew I knew how to say goodbye? See you guys later.